Hello everyone, this is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of Cruel and Beautiful, Eye of the Dragon, Rabbit Hole, and King Dio. With the recent domination of Nintendo Switch products on the charts, of just Nintendo just dominating gaming, with Sony becoming increasingly irrelevant with each passing year, with the Snoys having nothing really to talk about, like Spider-Man didn't save the console, God of War didn't save the console, Horizon Zero Dawn didn't save the console, The Last of Us didn't save the console. They're having a lot of trouble, like really trying to sell people on this idea that the PlayStation 5 is ever going to be successful. They're having a lot of trouble doing that. And they can't point to sales numbers like they usually do because the Switch is selling the most at the moment. So, what are they doing? What are the Snoys doing to try and convince the public that like Sony is popular? Like, are you ready for this one? Are you ready for the newest Snoy cope from the PlayStation Nation? Like, are you ready? According to Snoys, Sony is winning the console war because game trailers are getting a ton of views on YouTube. Like, like I'm seeing people like bring up like, oh man, like Spider-Man got like 30 million units. God of War got like 10 million views. Like this and that got like a bunch of views. Like PlayStation is clearly more popular than ever. Once everyone gets vaccinated and COVID ends, that's going to be when PlayStation starts really taking off in popularity, and PS5 will take its rightful place on top of the sales charts. Just like, well, first of all, Snoys, you really have to understand that. Understand that, like, PlayStation fans watch movies. They don't play games. So, of course, like, your views for your YouTube channels are going to be off the charts. Of course, they're going to be high. But what you don't understand, what you don't really appreciate, and the thing that, like, I think is going to be talked about more and more once this becomes a bit more well known, a bit more of a well known argument that you're actually putting forward on sites like 4chan and NeoGAF and things like that. YouTube views do not translate to sales. This has been observable over the past couple of years. Like I've talked a lot about like how Spider-Man PS4 didn't live up to expectations, how like God of War Ragnarok, God of War didn't live up to expectations, how like Ratchet and Clank didn't live up to expectations, but um, like PlayStation games typically sell significantly less than what their YouTube views suggest. Like they sell like a fraction of what they get on YouTube, right? Like Fallout 4 like got like hundreds of like I don't want to say like tens of millions of views, maybe sold like 10 million. I don't know how much Fallout 4 sold, but like we can like AAA games seem to be able to get a very high view count just by virtue of being AAA games. People will click on it and watch the trailer and then decide that like yeah I don't want to play the game and just not buy it. That's the reality of the Snoy system at this moment. Is that like you can get a lot of views because like you're gaming the algorithm so hard and you're doing like all you have like all this publicity, you have like game journals shilling your product and stuff like that. You can get views, but you can't get sales, which is what you really want. Whereas like Nintendo kind of has the opposite thing going on, where like their games sell significantly more than their view count would indicate. Like I think Animal Crossing typically got like 200,000 views on their YouTube channel and stuff like that. Like you wouldn't think it was that popular, but then like it came out and then it sold like 30 million units. So like the difference here is it's very noticeable, right? We're seeing a very big discrepancy in how like the targeted audience responds to these different kinds of products. Like Nintendo fans don't watch YouTube channels, they play games. Whereas like Snoys are always on gaming message boards. They're always on YouTube comment sections. They're always watching Digital Foundry videos, trying to convince themselves that like PS5 run games can run games better than high end gaming PCs. That like the exclusives are top notch, like the best there are. and stuff like that. All this stuff that just is just not true, right? Like it's obvious at this point that Sony is clearly on the decline, and if it wasn't for like a couple of high profile high profile games like remaining exclusive on PlayStation, stuff like Tales and stuff like that, PlayStation wouldn't be selling any units at all, right? Like without like those, without a handful of like established properties keeping this console propped up, like they wouldn't be selling anything anywhere, right? And once those games get knocked off the charts, once people realize that, like, oh yeah, there are better alternative to Tales on Nintendo consoles. Like there's Xenoblade 2s, there are Octopaths, there are like the Final Fantasy games. Like there's so much there that I would like people would much rather prefer to Tales, but like Tales hasn't completely lost all credibility yet. From what I understand, like this is actually the best Tales game in years because they got rid of the Tales guy, the producer who was like who fucked up the past couple of releases. So, oof. All right, so what can we expect to see next from the Snoys? I expect them to double down on these claims that like YouTube views somehow matter, and for this to be like their main thing going forward until people start calling them out on their nonsense. And if I'm doing it, I'm sure other people have noticed too. I'm sure it will be derided and mocked in the future. Like again, make no mistake, this is like the 2021 equivalent of like Knack outsold 3D World or like what have you, like of just like snoid nonsense that they perpetuate to no end to defend this PlayStation Corporation. It is downright disgusting and needs to be addressed more.